Good morning, dear friends. Today we will talk about how a normal working day for a SAP FICO consultant, or you can say any consultant in SAP area, if it is an implementation work, how a day of his working life will look like. So today we will discuss in detail about that given topic. I was supposed to prepare a detailed video on these things, but I have bifurcated this consultants a normal working day into three parts. First part is this video where we will discuss about implementation project. In another video we will talk about support project, and then we have one part which is the third part also about other projects, because as we know that in SAP there are too many variety of projects are there: implementation, support, rollout, enhancement, mini project, documentation, training, and so on. The list is very long actually. So that is what we are going to discuss. Let's move further. So how a normal working day will look like, as you can see, either people are on the call or discussing or on the laptop or checking something on the net, or maybe within a group and discussing something. So this is a general pattern. Let's move further. Contents. So what all things we have into this, we will talk very briefly about what is an implementation project, how it looks like, types of implementation projects in SAP, what are the varieties of implementation projects we have. We will also talk very briefly about ASAP and SAP Activate methodology, normal working day of a consultant, project stages and consultants work, various teams management, personal opinion about normal working day of a SAP consultant, conclusion. Okay, so let's move on to the new slide. As you can see, the multitasking, whether you are a man or you are a woman, doesn't matter. You have to work in a similar fashion more or less, and you will have to do multitasking at any given point of time, because consultant's day is not decided by the consultant himself or herself. Consultant's day is decided by many other factors, and the most important factor is what stages of the work he is in, if it is an implementation work, whether it is initial phase, whether it is a middle phase, or whether it is a end phase. And each phase has its own set of activities which needs to be carried out. So this is how usually it looks like. Let's move further. So implementation project is basically, it refers to collective practices and workflows intended to create, design, and tune an SAP landscape. So this whole process is basically called as implementation project. Each SAP implementation is unique. The project is undertaken to reach high level goals like better communication and an increase in return on the information available within the company. Basically, SAP project has dual purpose. The first and foremost purpose is to record, summarize, and collect all the financial data, whether it is in the monetary terms and many a times non-monetary terms as well, to store within the system. Within the company, all the information should be readily available as and when they need, which helps them for the external reporting as well. Then the another important objective also is to arrange the set of data which is needed to make the day-to-day decision for the company. So it is not just a kind of needed something for the purpose of data entry system kind of thing. Yes, it has the data entry system as well, no doubt, but that is not the only purpose what it has. It is also expected to provide some inputs based on which managers or the senior management of a client or company can take better decisions for the growth and the future prospects of a company. So one part is to take care of the day-to-day activities, record day-to-day activities. Second part is to provide inputs based on which people can take some strategic decisions about the company. So all these things are taken care by this SAP implementation project. Now what all things it has, as you can see in the right hand side corner, we have project preparation, business blueprint, realization, go live and support, continuous improvement. So improvement is not a one time or one day activity, it is an ongoing activity irrespective of which kind of application is used for the maintenance of information within the company. Let's move further. So as you can see how the SAP implementation will look like, how many things it will have, resources you need progress, you need support, you have activity, management, policy, execution, discharge, strategy, so on. Implementation looks pretty simple. It is actually not so simple. It is really very complex. Most of the people, I will say, whether working into any kind of project or something like that, they have hardly seen completely end to end implementation in front of their eyes. Very few people have actually seen. Most of the people write only on the piece of paper, but they have never seen how a contract is being signed from the time until the project goes live, and the initial support of anything between 4 to 6 weeks of time is being completed successfully, and then also handed over the project to the support team. Once that is done, then only it is considered as the project is completely over. So this is how the things are. So it has so many activities, so many parameters, so many goals it is supposed to achieve, and much more. Plus, since SAP is a costly system, people also expect it should give them the kind of return, and it should benefit them in such a way that they can, it's like something, you are getting some return on the investment which you have done in the SAP system, something called as ROI, return on investment. So they always look forward to have a better ROI based on the information provided by SAP system when compared to the money they have invested to set up the SAP system for the company. Okay, let's move further. So at a very high level, we would know that how many types of implementation projects we can have in general. We can have blue field, we can have green field, and we can have brown field as well. So we will talk very briefly about these things. We will not be going into detail of it because that is not the scope of this particular topic on which we are creating this video. So green field means this is more challenging and very riskier. since this is a new enterprise ERP implementation, but it is a great opportunity to improve upon inefficient processes. That simply means if any process in the company is not so efficient, or it has some manual intervention, or some of the processes can be realigned, so such kind of activities you can beautifully carry out in the greenfield implementation. Now we will talk about brownfield implementation. Brownfield implementation is basically it leverages the latest and the greatest enhancement in process efficiency and functionality with S4 HANA system. That simply means suppose you are running already in the ECC system, maybe EHP 7 or 8, and you are planning to upgrade it to S4 HANA system. Since you are already running on ECC system and now you are planning to move on to the latest version of ERP system in the generation 4, that's why it is called as S4, right? So in S4, if they want to upgrade from the ECC, then it will be considered as a brownfield implementation, or you can also say SAP upgrade implementation. Now in terms of blue field, so basically a blue field is a combination of green field and a brown field which reaps the benefits of both worlds in its implementation strategy. So that's why it is called as blue field. It is a mix and match kind of thing, and accordingly, out of these two methodologies, whatever is working out the best for the organization, they pick it up and work accordingly. So far, I hope things are clear. Let's move on to the new slide. Now we will talk about two important methodologies which is generally used in the SAP ERP implementation or SAP S4 HANA implementation. So till ECC was in the picture, this was the SAP's recommended methodology to implement SAP ERP in the new system, new client. So it was called as ASAP methodology, accelerated SAP methodology. So it has a total of 5 phases: project preparation, business blueprint, realization, final preparation, go live and support, and thereafter obviously continuous improvement will continue thereafter. So these were the 5 phases for SAP ASAP methodology which was used for the implementation of ECC system in the client location. So I will not go in the detailing of each of these steps. For this is a separate topic we will discuss in detail in some other video. Let's move further. Another important methodology which is being currently used is the implementation of S4 system in the client location, and we have multiple options. I mean, you can be implementing on premise, you can implement on cloud, and cloud also has varieties like you can be on public cloud, you can be on a private cloud, or you can also be on hybrid cloud. So as in case of ECC, customers had no other choice. There were only one choice given: on premise. There was no concept called as cloud in case of ECC implementation. But now in S4 HANA, we have given a choice where we can choose how to go about doing it. So we will talk now about SAP Activate methodology, which is used for SAP S4 HANA implementation projects in the SAP system. So basically it has 6 steps. It has discover, Then you have prepare, explore, realize, deploy, and run. This is SAP recommended methodology for any S4 HANA Greenfield implementation project. So SAP Activate methodology provides a flexible and agile approach to SAP implementation project. From planning to deployment, it guides project teams throughout the entire life cycle. SAP Activate methodology consists of following phases as shown below. So this is what we have just talked about. Let's move further. Now we will talk purely about the topic for which this presentation is being created and this video is getting created. So a consultant's day will be depending on many factors, but this is some of the very important and crucial factors which will decide how his normal working day will look like. Depending on whether you are at a junior level, you are at the middle level, or you are at the senior level, the day for all the three different levels, job levels, will be completely different. For example, if you are at a junior level, you might be engaged into some kind of activity. Suppose you are in the realization phase, and then somebody will give you, okay, do some certain level of configurations or do some testing or something related to these kind of things. You may also be asked to prepare certain documentations. The senior level or the middle level will be sometimes engaged in some kind of solutioning activity, some kind of customizing activity, and all the critical customization and configuration will be taken care by them. And some people who are very very senior, or if they are the part of the management, then they will be taking care of the team and seeing that how the project is progressing overall, and they keep a track of all the progress made on more or less on a daily basis, because implementation projects are always for a shorter duration when compared to any other projects like a support project and things like that, right? So that is very very important. And then whether you are in a technical side or you are in a functional side also will decide what activities you will have to do. If you are on a functional side, you will be busy into customizing, testing, documentation, UAT, and lot of other activities wherever whatever phase you are in. If you are in the technical side, then you will be developing lot of, you will be working on various gaps, and you will be creating some custom programs, reports, forms, interfaces, and so on. Even technical people also have lot of activities to perform. It is not that only the functional people work. Functional people always do the testing part, but any kind of development or something new to be created in the system other than customization, without technical help, that cannot be done. So which stage of project it is in, that will also decide what all activities somebody would be expected to perform. And the most important part is the project working team environment. This is very very crucial. If everybody within the team and within the module and within the project are supporting to each other, helping each other to do their job better, then people also will have willingness to extend their hand, and they will also learn also, and they will support also. The quality of such kind of project delivery will be definitely better than expectation, and that is the ultimate goal for any project management team as well. But unfortunately, in some of the projects I have seen is the office politics or the management's behavior towards the team or various other things. These things usually do not align with the overall goal of the implementation project. So in such situations, since the atmosphere for the team is not conducive to work as a single team, as a cohesive team, in such situations lot many issues comes up, and then they need to deal with it as well. Apart from these things, even the quality of the project delivery also suffers a setback, which is not the ultimate goal for doing the implementation project. So it is the responsibility of all the team members who are part of this project to ensure that the project working environment within the team is very conducive, support each other, and ensure that everybody is doing their work to the best of their ability. You have to provide them such kind of atmosphere where they should be free to give them some idea if they have. They should be able to contribute, they should be able to motivate, and they should be able to deliver. All these things need to be properly taken care of. Let's move on to the next slide. So it depends on what methodology is being used, whether it is a, I mean, whether it is a activate methodology or uh, whether it is ASAP methodology used. Then it also depends at what point of time you have entered in this particular implementation project, whether you have entered in the beginning, in the middle, or somewhere in the end. That will decide what kind of work you are going to do in the implementation work, because at the initial phase of the project most of the team members are not available. They start joining the team, I mean implementation team, only once the groundwork gets commenced to complete that implementation work. Then another important thing is what all applications are used in the project management. I mean, it can be, lot of things are there. Lot of things are there, like email communication. What application is used for testing? What kind of application is used for defect resolution? What kind of application is used for transport movement? What all processes and other things are used? And likewise, to store the document like SharePoint or something like that, people sometimes use, sometimes they use Jira and other things also, right? So and ServiceNow also can be used for that purpose. So what all applications you are using, you should be comfortable with it, you should know how to use it. That makes your life easier. Then what is the level of experience you hold, whether you are a junior level, very junior level, somewhere in the middle, or at the higher, or maybe at the part of project management team. So your experience also decides what kind of work you are going to get in the project. Sometimes you have to engage in the solution, sometimes you have to engage in the customizing, sometimes might be engaged into the uh, customers users acceptance test, and then there are so many other activities. Implementation work is basically a bundle of activity. It is not just one or two piece of work. It is bundle of activities. Then how much you understand a specific business process. People talk about golden scenarios, golden business scenarios. So do you understand what is called as end-to-end business scenarios? Something like procurement to pay, something like order to cash, something like, so many different scenarios are there. How much you understand, that also matters a lot. Then which industry in which the client is operating, whether they are in a manufacturing industry, whether they are in a service industry, whether they are in a retail industry, whether they are in a trading industry, which industry they are working in. That also impacts the implementation work to a great extent, because each industry has its own flavor of having the specific business process, which is exclusively used into that particular business in that industry alone only, because a service industry will never follow the manufacturing industry processes, and a manufacturing company will never follow the service industry practices. The practices between these two industries will be completely different of each other. So this also impacts the kind of work a consultant is going to get. Then, what is the level of documentation they need? Do they need very detailed and deep level of documentation, or its normal documentation is enough? If they usually documentation is a time consuming activity, it takes a lot of time, and it also needs, depends up to how, what is the level of refinement they want with regard to the documentation. Remember, here one thing is, this implementation documents are actually the backbone of your SAP system. They store all the relevant information based on which the SAP system is being built to use for the given client or the company. These things must be stored properly and ensure that it is not being lost while transitioning from one hand to the another. Many a times this gets lost, and later on it becomes a big issue to understand how the things are happening, where is the documentation is, and why did it happen like that. Okay. Now we will also talk about testing methods and interfaces used. Testing can be manual testing, can be automation testing, can be regression testing, can be a performance testing, can be a black box testing. Testing itself is a topic in itself. If you go into deep of it, then we will understand what testing is all about and what how many interfaces the system will have. 1, 2, 5, 10. You define, there is something called a system landscape. So there you define what all systems will be getting added up on the top of SAP, which all will have inbound and outbound interfaces, which will send some data or will receive some data, as the case may be, based on the purely business requirement. Let's move on to the next. So why I have written various teams management is, it has so many, you will be basically with variety of teams within the SAP implementation project work. You will have your juniors, you will have your co-workers who are more or less at your level, you will have your seniors and your reporting manager. Then you will also have a separate group for business users and key users with whom you will be interacting with regard to the clarification on the requirement, or some new requirement is coming up, or something related to that, or maybe even for the user acceptance test. Then who is the reporting person at the client side? Somebody in the client side also will be leading their team to ensure that the implementation work is achieving its intended objective. Then day in and day out you will also have to deal with various meetings for various things. Whenever some new topic discussion will be there, or some progress report is to be made, or some testing or something needs to be done, whenever some cross module issues will be there, all these things you will require various kinds of testing. And again, which kind of personality you have. I mean, if you don't have a good personality, and if you don't have a personality which can gel with all kind of people, then you will face lot of issues to manage your work, and you will basically become kind of an issue within the team. Please ensure that your personality should not become an hindrance in the implementation project. You have to have a personality which can get mixed into anything. Then only an implementation project will become a success. Let's move on to the next slide. Coming to my personal opinion on how a normal working day of a SAP consultant will look like. The first and foremost is Many people think that for everything there is a hard and fast rule. I am sorry to say, it is not like that. Nothing is hard and fast rule as such. Sometimes things will happen which is unexpected, and sometimes things will go very smooth. Now, which day what will go smooth and which day what will not go smooth, you cannot predict. And that is why I am saying there is no hard and fast rule applies. Particularly for gaps, it is not so easy to have a hard and fast rule as such. Situation to situation, client to client, business process to business process, people to people, location to location, country to country, it differs. And you should be able to accept all these differences. So it is another important things to note that you should have very clear business requirement. If your requirement is not clear, then delivering the job assigned is very difficult. That creates lots of stress and anxiety within the project team, which is not good. Then one person should not be overloaded. Many a times we have also seen that one person who is doing more aggressively the work, more work is also assigned to them. That is not an ideal situation. That is very difficult situation for a person who is doing too much of work and the other team members are not having enough work in hand. Project team has to ensure that everybody is getting their share of work and they should be held responsible for the work they are supposed to deliver. Helping part is separate, but the accountability still should lie on the person who is accountable to deliver that work. Then, what is the timeline? How much time you have to deliver particular work? Not every work needs 2 minutes of time. There are a lot of work which can take even 2 months of time. Now, for every activity, you will not get 2 months of time. So you have to decide which work is going to take more time, which work is going to take less time, and what is the timeline deadline given to the management that by this time this activity will be completed. So if you have enough time in hand, people will have lot of space to focus on the work with quality and ensure that a quality delivery is being made. But then if the timeline is short, then everybody is in a hurry, and if it is in a hurry, the chances of making mistake also will be quite high. So that is again another point. Then whether the information within the team is flowing between one team to another freely or not, that means open communication across teams is happening or not happening. This is very important because many times if you withhold the information and don't pass it on to the right team and right people, then the speed of delivery, the speed of implementation also suffers because of that. Then how mature you are, how many scenarios you have seen, how many different kind of situations you have handled so far within the implementation work. All these experiences makes you mature. The more you have, the better you will be able to handle the various kind of things because you have some prior experience. Particularly juniors struggle at this level because they don't have enough hands-on experience and they need lot of guidance to deliver certain activities. Then what is the scope of work being assigned to a given person and what is your attitude towards the work which is being assigned to you? All this also impacts the normal working day of a consultant. Finally, one last point which I would like to pinpoint is do not go beyond the scope what is being given to you. Many a times while working, people cross their boundaries. That is supposed that basically becomes a big problem for the project management team to handle such kind of situations if you just cross your limits. Here it is very important whatever is being given, you work only up to that. If somebody is not told you to do something extra, Don't do that extra. Don't try to act like you are an over smart person. If you work like that, be assured about one thing: one day or the other you will be getting caught, and once you are getting caught, you will get your share of having other actions which you don't want to get. I hope this point is clear. Let's move on to the next slide. How the SAP implementation work will look like. So this is just some pictorial. I have just given some screenshots from the internet to just to show you how it will look like. See, somebody is fixing a car and creating a car, and somebody is just checking it up, and somebody is working on their laptop to see whether everything is working fine or not, and just setting up the system, things like that. So this is just the to understand how complex the work can be at times. So this is the implementation work. Now look at your team, and then what all things are very important for SAP work perspective is you should be following the compliance, you should follow the standards, you should ensure the quality control of the work which is being delivered, what is the best practices being used for a particular given industry, collection of the correct business requirements, what is the strategy to implement them, apart from that, what all the local rules and regulations which you are supposed to follow, how the securities will be taken care of, how the project governance, the team which is overlooking the entire implementation work, I am talking about that team particularly, and in which business client is in. So all these things will be part of your implementation work in SAP. Coming to the conclusion part of it, which is again it's kind of summary. So SAP consulting work is different. It is not just like a simple work. Irrespective of kind of project you do, consulting work is different. You need to be different to deliver the work. This is not like 9 to 5 jobs. Sometimes you have to forget all your comforts just in order to deliver the job on time. Always remember that when you are working on an implementation project, do not keep any doubt in your head. In case of any doubt, it is always better to seek guidance, seek clarification from your seniors, super seniors, whoever it may be, and get it clarified, and then only you act on it. Do not be a decision maker for such kind of points where you are not clear what is going to happen and how it is going to impact the system performance. Don't do that, because then that issue will come back to you in a very brutal force and will hit you very hard. I have seen that happening. So based on my experience I am talking about. Then don't be somebody who do not believe in sharing the knowledge, who do not believe in extending the hand to help and support. You have to take help also and you have to give help also, because SAP work is basically a teamwork. And what is the meaning of team? If person within the team are not helping each other, what will be the use of team then? And how it will be called as a team? Because SAP is always a team's work. I have never seen any implementation work which is done by a single individual. It just cannot be done as well. It just can't be done. It has to have a team only, and that too with different skill sets, with different expertise, with different level of experience, and so on. The fundamental topics are different. There are quite a lot of things. There are literally quite a lot of things, and quite a lot of factors. Then one more thing what we have to ensure that we are learning in that implementation project also on a daily basis. Many a times you think that why should I learn this is not in my scope. Don't do that. please learn whatever comes in your way, whether it belongs to your module, or even if it belongs to some other module also. Don't put a boundary for your learning. Learn as many things and as many areas as you can. Whatever you can store in your mind, if possible, try to make a note of those things also, because once you are out of the project, you will forget most of the things. It will be good if you are keeping a record of it also. It helps you a lot at a later stage when you are finding yourself into the similar kind of situations once again in the project work. And whatever activities are assigned to you, please keep a track of it. Don't think that everything is there in your mind. Many times, sometimes people miss out some important activities which are supposed to be performed, and later on it becomes a big issue, big mess to deal with. It's like because of your laziness, because of your carelessness, you have invited a problem. Please, please, please don't do that. When something is being assigned to you, SAP work is a very, very serious work. You need to be very, very careful with the work you do and ensure that you are helping each other to learn and grow, and delivery should be perfect. This is very, very important. Let's move on. So now we have come to the conclusion of this particular video. If anybody has any query or something like that, then you can drop an email to the given mail ID which is being shown in the slide. And now let's move on to the next. Thank you so much for watching this video. Kindly like and subscribe my YouTube channel. I will keep bringing you such kind of videos going forward as well, and on different topics. The same topic will not be repeated multiple times, and if it is repeated also, it will have new contents. It will not have the same old content what was there in the previous video. So thank you once again, and this is the end of part 1 for the normal working day of a SAP consultant in the SAP world, particularly with regard to the implementation work. In the next video, we will have another topic, maybe support project or maybe other projects. Thank you once again. Have a good day. Bye bye.